Hello everyone, I am the Worm. This is Raging Loop. I'm back again after quite a day. You ever have a day where you get up, you have a plan, you have the motivation, you're ready to take on, all the different hurdles. And then you get to the very first one and you trip and, fall flat on your face. And then it's just the rest of the day, just kind of drags on after that. Well, my day was kind of like that. It was, I planned to get a lot done today and I got some of it done, but well, it is what it is. I'm here now, and you are not here for me complaining. You're here for Raging Loop, and so am I. So let's get back into it, because this is at least something fun happening in my day. Last time was a big reveal. We learned who the wolves are after so long, and it was one obvious one and one not so obvious, at least not to me. It was Yasunaga and Tai-san. And as I said last time, I just very quickly went back through some of the different feasts that went on just to see if I could try to understand their strategy a bit more. And one thing I did notice is Yasunaga and Tai-san, they never went for the same thing. So in the previous feast, Tai-san voted for Kaori, while Yasunaga voted for Rikako. And in the previous feast, one of the previous feasts, Tai-san went for Chiemi, and Yasunaga went for the old man when they voted. And so they never, and they didn't really, during the conversations, if one was in an argument, they didn't really go out of their way to defend or support each other very directly. So, I think obviously them doing that was entirely intentional. They, during the feast itself, they never did anything that would make it seem like they're working together in any way. It's very interesting now looking back how it was actually Mochi voted for Tai when she voted for Chiemi, and Rikako voted for Yasunaga, all during the same feast. So two of our more perhaps deeper thinkers here were kind of suggesting who it was. It was in the same feast, I think. Rikako voted for Yasunaga and Mochi voted for Tai. So if we just followed their advice, we would have caught on, I guess. Another huge revelation is that Haru has been. Well, I should start. Before I mention Haru, I should mention we learned the supposed true story of the village, and I'm putting "true" in quotation marks here because that it sounds off to me. So the supposed true story that two members of the village are told is that rather than the wolves betraying Shinai-san, and then the villagers and guardians come together to defeat the wolves and the Yomibito. The situation is actually reversed. It was the guardians and the villagers that betrayed Shinai-san, and the two wolves are appointed personally by Shinai-san to wipe them out, wipe out the guardians and the villagers. And that's obviously how the two villagers are convinced to kill everyone. And so, branching off from that, Haru supposedly also learned this truth, but was not one of the wolves. She learned it a bit after the game started, and from then on, seemed to be trying to well, if not, she didn't immediately begin to work with the wolves because she didn't know who they were. She tried to escape, but that didn't really work very well. She believed the story, of course. The two wolves believed the story, and she believed the story. When she started to suspect that Yasunaga was a wolf, she then decided to work with him. And that ultimately culminated in what we've seen here at the end, where she's willing to vote with them, and so they have won, essentially, the wolves. Now, there is a little thought that I like that I heard from a commenter last video. If you know who you are, if you're okay with having your name said, you could let me know. It's just a personal thing for me where I don't want to step on any toes. But this, we had a conversation I think in the comment section, a brief one. And the idea is, if we think back to the prayer, nursery rhyme, there was a mention of a badger. And the badger supposedly arrives a day late. And so the thought goes that perhaps Haru could be this supposed badger, essentially being the one to learn the truth at a later date. And that's her role. And then what she does with that information is, it's whatever she decides to do. And in this instance, she decided to aid the wolves. I do like that idea. I don't know if it ends up being the case. But we'll have to see. But I think it's interesting because was it last time or the time before we heard from Mako? She gave her own story of what happened. And I think the true story is probably going to be something in between the original story we heard and now this supposed true story. I think there's going to be something where neither have the full picture. Mako gave her own little story. She was drawing animals in the ground, and there were more animals than just the guardians and the wolves. So maybe there could be a badger, or maybe there could be other animals that we're not entirely sure of yet. Still don't know. In any case, where did we leave off last time? We left with Haruaki basically going on the attack, grabbing Chiemi and Mako and sprinting away. And he seemed to suggest that Yasunaga actually wanted that to happen. And I'm not entirely sure I fully understand the idea. Is the idea that Yasunaga bought into the wolf story and played his part as a wolf, but still wanted Chiemi to escape because he had a crush on her at the end? Is that what the idea was? So he left himself vulnerable for Haruaki to hit and then take Chiemi away? That's my understanding, but I'm not entirely sure that's what he meant. Yeah. So that's pretty crazy. That he was, well, it may have just been, he would have killed Chiemi as he was meant to, and was only hoping that Haruaki would do something. In any case, Haruaki has indeed done something, and we are now running away. So, I don't know if we're going to reach the ending in just a little bit, but let's get back into it, because I stopped at quite a tense scene. Yeah, let's do this. Okay. Descending the cliff took a lot of patience. Oh yeah, we're going down the Saranaga, so, only good things can happen here, I'm sure. It didn't seem like they were chasing us, so we could go down carefully. Chiemi's expression was dead. She'd been hit hard by a sudden revelation. The game board had been flipped on her. She'd lost, and now she had to suddenly say goodbye to her old friends. It was hard to just laugh that off. Should I have told her about Yasunaga's intentions? I did consider it, but I couldn't bring myself to. He chose to save her by sacrificing their relationship. If she knew, she'd probably want to go back to the settlement. Or maybe I just didn't want to say it because of my pride as a man. That was fine by me, too. Being able to shrug off such unfairness was one of the blessings of adulthood. So I consoled Chiemi, shouted to Mako to be more careful, and generally talked as much as I could. The mist grew even denser.
ねえ、チエミ。もう村の外って言ってよくない？
そうかもね。
やったぞ。ほら、何事もなく抜けられた。
やった
そうそう。さあ、川を下って町に戻ろう。
川、どっち？
I couldn't see anything. I hadn't just lost my bearings, it was worse than that. I couldn't even see Chiemi or Mako's faces, and I was actually holding their hands. We were already at the bottom of the cliff, walking on the stones below. We heard water, so it was clear that we were close to the river. But I didn't know if we could keep going right now.
ちょっと休もうか。
無理よ。
チエミ。
I thought she was going to freak out again, but
違うの。
she stopped me.
聞こえないかな。水音以外に何か。
The water's pretty loud. What do you hear? Confused, I strained my ears.
何か聞こえる？
ワンワン。
Uh-oh.
追ってきてる。
They were acting strange. I strained my ears again. Was it above us? I could hear the faint sound of rustling leaves from the top of the cliff.
逃げなきゃ。
Uh-oh.
もう疲れた。春明さん、メイコちゃんを。
The intensity in Chiemi's voice made me take the situation seriously. What if the sound just now was wind, though? Was she jumping at shadows? But I would have been lying if I said I wasn't worried. After all, a question remained unanswered, and according to the legend, this was their HQ. Wait, they were the good guys, right? Still, this wasn't a normal place. I had to get out of here ASAP. After a while, I was forced to recognize the anomaly. We couldn't reach the river. I ran along the riverbed. It should have been small, just a few meters wide. But even after 10 minutes of running, there was no sight of the river. We couldn't get anywhere. It was just like ring wanderung. A phenomenon where people wandering snowy peaks lose their sense of direction and just end up walking in circles. However, even if my sight was limited, how could anyone get lost on such a small riverbed? I could hear the stream right next to me. This felt so wrong. I was as good as blind. All I could trust were my ears, but that just made me realize how useless that was to rely on. I trusted my sense of direction less with every passing second. So, the sounds of parting grass in the distance, the sound of claws stepping on the rocks. I felt like they were getting closer. I couldn't be certain. Eventually, we slowed down. The others didn't say anything, but they were clearly exhausted. We hadn't eaten for days. Not to mention the dense mist made our clothes all uncomfortably damp and cold. We walked along the riverbed without uttering a single word. The sound of water wasn't getting closer, but something else sure was. Something. Things I didn't know scared me. The chill and the fear strangled me like a garrote as I carried Mako, passed out from exhaustion on my back. How long has it been like this? Suddenly, the hand I was dragging became heavier. Chemi had stopped.
Haruaki-san.
She called my name through the mist.
何かな
I tried to sound lighthearted, but I wasn't confident I could pull it off.
もうダメだこれ。
Her voice suggested the image of a grim smile.
何を言ってんだ
Unlike before, I couldn't manage the defiant tone I'd used whenever she'd said something stupid. It was true that something unnatural was happening, and there was no simple explanation. And Chiemi was wearing down both physically and emotionally.
ちょっと休もう。それで進めばすぐ抜けられる。大丈夫だ。
ダメだよ無理だよ。
どうして
あのね私がいたらきっと川は越えられないんだ。
What? That was like...
だって言ってたじゃん。読み人は私たちの方だって。だから
彼岸を渡れないとでも言うつもりか
だって私小さい頃からずっと休みずのものを食べてきた。それに私は汚れてるから。
ちえみ
見ないで。
I turned her around and pulled her by the arm. I looked at her face from point-blank range. It was covered in brown and yellow blisters. Before I could even be surprised or disgusted, I just kissed her. The sugary taste of blood and pus and rust filled my mouth and spread throughout my throat. I didn't care. Then, to discard all unnecessary emotions, I hugged her as hard as I could. My breathing and thoughts ceased. I kept it up until the pain began to fade, then disappeared completely. Eventually, our lips were separated again, and she prioritized words over breaths.
ごめんなさいごめんなさいごめんなさい本当ごめん。
Even so, I hugged her tight. I couldn't lose to something so ridiculous. She weakly hugged me back, but she couldn't keep it up for long.
行こう
だから
行こ
The presence in the distance was definitely closing in. We walked. I felt like I'd been walking for several hours now. Our pursuers were close now, but I had no intention of rushing. Chemi was slowly but surely getting weaker by the second. Her speed slackened with each step, and the weight on my arm was becoming heavier. I could hear her cough and vomit something out. She apologized every time she did, and I basically replied with, "It's all right," using different words every time. We walked. Chemi's feet began to make wet sounds with every step. We walked. Maybe we'd only actually been here for a few minutes. We walked. Chemi kept apologizing. Maybe we haven't moved a single meter. We walked. Maybe none of this was real. Then, maybe nothing that happened here would be weird. Eventually, Chemi called out to me with a hoarse voice.
春秋さん
The fact that she said something different had sparked a moment of baseless hope, and so
ありがと
her gratitude was followed by another wet sound.
う楽しかった。
With those final words, her weight vanished. It was strange. After all, I was still holding her hand. Or rather, only her hand. With a splash, her bodily fluids spread around, while her limbs and entrails just collapsed. Chemi was gone, leaving behind only her rotting hand. Perhaps her remains were piling up in the mist ahead. I had a strange certainty I couldn't touch it ever again. Was this what they called a Yomi Bito? I couldn't accept this, no matter what.
私の何でもいいからどこか一部だけでも外に連れてって。
I put the hand in my jacket pocket. I took Mako, still sleeping, and shifted my grip to make carrying her easier. I continued walking, for too long. Mako woke up. She was shocked that Chemi was gone and cried for a bit, but then she said she wanted to walk by herself, so I put her down on the ground. The very next moment she was dragged into the mist. It was clearly a malicious force that did that. To me, it looked like a furry arm. A scream resounded. It was an inhuman, animalistic scream. After hesitating a moment, I turned to run and caught a glimpse of something beastly within the mist Mako had disappeared into. I ran. And ran. Suddenly, I felt myself step into something wet. I had arrived at the river. It was meaningless. I'd lost everything. And in the end, only I survived.
私の何でもいいからどこか一部だけでも外に連れてって。
Was there any meaning in fulfilling that promise? No. The meaning was for me to find. That was why I had to survive and find a forest. Yeah, I still had that hope back then. They finally broke through the mist and showed themselves. Oh, of course. This really was hell, wasn't it? This wasn't the human realm or nirvana. It was a river of hell, so of course both sides of it were going to be hell. There was no splash when we threw Takumi-san's body in, was there? The moment we went into the mist and down the cliff, our bodies vanished from the world and reached a place from which there was no return. And I finally had no choice but to accept it. As someone who had taken in the flesh and blood of a Yomi Bito, Chemi, I couldn't escape either. That was why I screamed stupidly, only managing to run a few steps before their sinister claws tore me apart. Damn it. Where had I gone wrong? Descending into Saranaga? Not believing Chemi when she told me we wouldn't escape? No, it went back even earlier than that. I already knew the answer. Ah, shit. I really wished I'd been a part of Yasumizu and participated in the feast of the Yomi Purge. Maybe I could have gotten a different ending than this. That was the last thought that went through my mind before all faded away. Ooh. Hmm. Raging loop. Whirls and claws. Obtain key number 4, sink into nirvana. Yeah, but I thought we established that wasn't nirvana. You can view it in the keys list. The route unlocked by this key is represented by the same number on the scenario chart. I'll have to find out what that is. Ending number 1. Watch hint corner? Yeah, why not? Let me hear it, sheep man.
よう大将、まずはお疲れさんだな。
Well, thank you.
最初のメインルート、読みはこれで終了だ。達成感とラブラブな空気に存分に浸るがいいぜ。
Lovey-dovey, huh? Yeah, I guess there was some of that, huh?
無理かよ。せっかくテンション上げてやったのによ。まあ無理もねえか。とんでもねえ鬱な結末だったもんな。が、気合い入れてくれ。より良い結末をお望みなら力になるぜ。今回のバッドじゃないエンド1。題して、知恵ねえと楽しい沢遊びについてだが。
That wasn't the name.
ぶっちゃけ正解だからな。アドバイスはね。よりマシな結末を探すなら、久石春明が言ってた通り、積極的に宴に加わる方法を探すことが大事だ。
It's what we've been waiting for.
今回手に入ったキー4を握りしめ、適切な場所に向かうんだ。
Alright. This is where we do it. This is where we take an active role.
シナリオチャートを見ればわかるが、これで開く鍵はずいぶん前にある。言っちまうと、1、起点の振り出しだ。あそこに最初に並んでた鍵付き選択肢がようやくこれで開く。新ルート、潜入が探索可能になるぜ。より混迷を極める事件に肉薄し、今回の後悔をもう味わわないよう全力を尽くしてやってくれよ、大将。
I think I'm ready. I think I'm good for this.
つうわけで、今回はここまで。次も元気に死んでこい。
Thank you, sheep.
そういう夢だったってわけだ。次はもっとうまくやれ。羊が1匹、羊が2匹。
Okay. Okay. Let's see this. Let's, one second. I think we have time to start it. Oh, snap. He really meant it, huh? Oh. Oh my goodness. Okay. Before going ahead, so Chiemi, here's what's interesting about that ending to me. Before moving on, Chiemi fell apart. Does that confirm she was a Yomi Bito? What in the world does that even mean, man? Okay, beyond that, whatever that means, I think it's interesting that Chiemi fell apart, but Mako didn't. So there's something fundamentally different about Mako that, compared to the rest? Or could that just be, is that particular to Mako, or is that dependent on just this feast or this route? Maybe it's different in another route. I don't know. Something to keep in mind, though, I think. Oh man, I just realized. So he just got this. He was on his bike, right? And he just got these memories. Wow. Imagine he's gonna so even though he's not in the village, he's gonna make the decision to go to the village and participate. That's crazy. Wow. I don't know if I'd be well, if it were me, not Haruaki, I would have been dead much earlier on, I'm sure. I do not have Haruaki's skill or personality, so I probably would have been killed before the feast started. Just run into these villagers, put my foot in my mouth, and then, hey, let's get rid of this outsider, and they toss me into Saranaga. But if I somehow did make it to the end and was presented with this choice of being back before I entered the village and suddenly getting these memories, I'd probably just run, man. I don't think I'd go back in there. But I think Haruaki's invested now. I think he's... Yeah, wow. Suddenly a rush of memories flitted into my mind. We gotta remember. Here we go. Right. How did I forget? I'd already experienced this looping phenomenon or whatever, so this is technically the second time he's looped. Hold on. Looping? What the hell? There's no way something like that could... But... if that wasn't it, what else could explain this? How else could I, someone who died once, be alive right now? You've died twice, my dude. I had clear memories of getting caught up in some strange incident at Yasumizu and, shit, I couldn't remember how it ended. It was like last time, too. My memories were all fragmented. But I did remember that I went to Yasumizu, met the people there, and died. Had I come back here when, or because I died? That was a ridiculous idea, but the pain and fear I felt back then was just so vivid and fresh in my mind. That I couldn't simply dismiss it. That I couldn't simply dismiss it as just a dream or illusion. There's no point in lying to myself. I was here having experienced something that made me sure I died. It was an incomplete memory from the future. I had no idea why I had it, but I definitely did. I had to come to terms with it first and foremost. The gas tank wasn't empty, but my phone couldn't find a signal and was running out of battery, and my throat was a bit dry, exactly like last time. That meant I was about to arrive at... Aha. We're gonna see this lady again. I knew it. I really didn't want to meet that employee again, but from what I'd experienced, she was the only one I'd meet before going to Fujiyoshi, so avoiding her probably wasn't a great idea. Her attitude was shit, but at least she always did what I asked. Though I really didn't want to drive down that unpaved road again. Once again, she greeted her customer in a borderline insane way. It actually made me kind of relieved, and I wanted to believe that was just some trick of the mind. It was just like before. To her, I was just an annoying late-night customer. Oh well, I'd just buy what I wanted.
くださいな。あ？どんだけ買う気なんだよ。
He's preparing. No reason. Yasumizu was just desperately poor and it had me worried. What was her problem? I was the customer. With this much stuff, she had to use the register. Still grumbling, she started scanning the barcodes. When she was done, I paid and asked.
近場の人里を目指したいんですけど、地図を見せてもらえませんか？あ？地図なんざねえよ。そこをなんとか。待ってろ。
She went through the staff door.
あったわ。
Is this the first time we've seen her eyes? I knew it. Well, we don't see her eyes, but her eyes are unclouded. I knew it.
これがこの店。で、十字路を北へ行け。
Are you gonna be? I mean, you have character art. So obviously you're someone. Are you more important than just a one-off, you know, what is it, a gas station attendant? What is this, Interesting.
ふむふむ。しばらくしたら立教があっから渡れ。最初の分岐のとこに大岩があっからそこを右折してあとは直線。地図には森しか見えませんが。
I knew that it was. There wasn't even a paved road there. Why'd she recommend the road anyway? If I'd crashed and died, it'd be homicide by negligence.
書かれてねえだけで集落があんだよ。
That wasn't a lie. It wasn't weird for Yasumizu to not be on the map. It was a nearly abandoned settlement in the middle of nowhere. But why is she directing us there and not to, say, Kamifujiyoshi? Why did she know about it? Did she live in Kamifujiyoshi or something?
ちょっとバイクじゃきつそうですね。
Yeah.
そっちの藤吉村には
What potential relations are there that she could be? We don't know Haru's parents. It's just her grandpa there. Takumi is just by himself. We don't know the rest of the Muro family. Nothing specific comes to mind.
くっそ面倒な峠道で2時間かかんぞ。一応メモっといていいですか？好きにしろよ。隣の町は山2つ向こ
う。Man, I couldn't make any sense of the local distance measurements.
ここいらを深夜に無茶すんのは進めねえぜ。
Oh, actual consideration. Though it was hard to be grateful. She was the one who pointed me in the direction of that shitty road in the first place.
引き返すのも勇気ってやつじゃねえの？
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Hang on, this store is basically out in the middle of nowhere, right? Turning back, he's been on a long journey already, right? And the only places around here are Fujiyoshi, which is beyond two mountains, and then it's Yasumizu? Where do you live, lady? まあ、考えますよ。どうも。毎度。あ、そうだ。この辺でローカルな飲み物とかってないです？陳列棚には特にはなさそうでしたけど。いや、そこにねえもんはねえって。もしかしたらバックヤードにあるかもしれないなと思って。あるわけねえだろ。まあまあ、一応見るだけでも。待ってろ。あったわ。 The fact that instead of say like cashier or attendant or something, and instead it's question mark is making me suspicious. Seriously. She brought me a 500cc bottle with a black liquid inside. The label looked written by hand and said, Wild Plant Cola. I expected nothing and got something huge. This place was amazing. あ、すみません。荷物だいぶ多くなっちゃったんで、荷台にくくるゴムロープみたいなのないですか？てめえ、ここはコンビニだぞ。見てくれるだけでいいんで。待ってろ。あったわ。Seriously?
せっかくなんでこのメモにあるその他ちょっとしたものたちを一通り見てきてもらえないですか？
Yeah, I mean, from his perspective, he's going into, something similar to combat here, He's going into life or death situation, so he's gonna get everything he can.
いい加減にしろよ、てめえ殺すぞ。
Well, not necessarily, but
ついに殺すって言った？一応で構いませんから。
待ってろ。
あざーす。
全部あったわ。
なんなんだこのコンビニ。
felt like she was about to kill me, but I successfully came up with pretty much all I needed. Then I just made a run for it. Wait, you didn't pay? Or did you? Okay. I opened up the weird wild plant cola. Looking up at the noisy light trap above, I took a sip. It was cool, intense, and strange. Grassy flavor. But wasn't too bad at all. I expected something totally gross, but it was actually a legit drink. Slightly disappointed, I looked at the ingredients. Cola and plant extract. Hold on. Cola as an ingredient. Did they just buy cola and mix it in? And plant extract. Could be anything from fruits to poisonous plants. What the hell, was this even safe to drink? Well, at least it tasted good. It's not gonna be something like, Yasumizu food, and so technically we're infected or something, is it? It was probably smart to just turn around and drive away. Entering Fujiyoshi means death, turn back. Perhaps that was what the loops were trying to tell me. Maybe I ought to listen. But was it really that easy? I had no real grounds for this. But if the cause of this strange phenomenon was somewhere in the village, perhaps I couldn't break out of the loop until I solved the mystery behind it. What would happen if I left then? Would I go on and live out the rest of my life? Would I go on and live out the rest of my days only to die and come back here? Would I... Ooh, that's a scary question. Would I return to youth after years of being old? That part didn't sound half bad, actually. But was it really something I could just accept so easily? This was just speculation. But what if I actually hadn't moved an inch from that mountain pass? Was everything from then, now, and until death just an ante-mortem fever dream, and dying again would just bring me back there? If that was how it was, everything I'd do with my life from this point onward would be meaningless. Maybe I really should only move on after taking care of whatever was binding me. Also, how could I leave something so strange, unnatural, and incomprehensible and just return to the city? Oh my goodness. Well, I think I know what we're doing next time. Wow, basically the entire route we just did is one thing here. What does that mean? Okay, well, we did quite a bit today. Finished the main route. First main route. And now we're finally on to, I think, the actual meat of the game, where we actually get to make multiple decisions. And so, if you want, here's something we could do going forward, because I think there's going to be a lot more choices now going forward. If you want to give, if I ended a choice like this here, and you want to give your own, if you want to vote, essentially, for a specific choice for me to take and give your reasons, I wouldn't mind that. Maybe we could have a fun little talk about what we want to do first. But that's only if you want to. Otherwise, I'll just have to reason my way through it myself. But yeah, I'm excited, actually. I'm real excited to actually get back into it, because I really want to know, are there going to be different wolves this time around? Oh, because That's gonna be pretty crazy. I think it has to be that case, but I'm curious to see. Okay. I've been the Worm. This has been Raging Loop, and we'll get into it next time. Hope you're all doing well. See you then.